What's up, everybody? What's up? Hey, it is a earnings palooza today. ER season kicking off, and we're back for another show. Glad to have everybody with us. I'm Kane.
I'm Maria.
And I'm Harold.
So, Maria, what's happening with these ERs?
So, as you guys know, we are now in the start of the bulk of our ER season this afternoon. Three of the biggest ones or bigger ones that just came out are Tesla, Netflix, and UAL. We're going to cover those real quick. So Tesla reported Q2 adjusted EPS 91 cents on a consensus of 82 cents. Revenue 24.9 billion on a consensus of 24.4 billion. And then moving on to, and that, just so you guys know, is a beat. If we go on to Netflix reported Q2 revenue 8.19 billion on a consensus of 8.3 billion, which is a miss. However, they said that they do see revenue growth to accelerate more substantially in Q4. For guidance, they said that they see Q3 revenue 8.52 billion on a consensus of 8.68 billion. Also, for the reporting quarter, Netflix reported Q2 global streaming paid net additions of 5.9 million. I don't have the consensus on what they wanted that to be, but 5.9 million is the number for Q2. And then UAL I think did well. That was a beat. They reported Q2 revenue 14.18 billion on a consensus of 13.91 billion. They raised full year 23 EPS guidance. And I believe after hours, they are up on that beat. And those are just today's earnings. So as you know, it's a very exciting time. We had some big earnings last week. For those that don't know, one notable one that I kind of wanted to go over was UNH. And they reported on Friday. And I think we'll have a chart here in a second. You'll see that since Friday, it's just been on an absolute tear. I personally thought 500 was going to be a stopping point, and you can see right there, it shot right through there. It overshot that by a lot. Basically, I would like for this to dip back down under 500. Now, I know that it pulled back a little bit today. I actually like that. If we were to get a dip, under 500, I'd look to pick that up. And there's the numbers right there, 92 point some billion on and beating the consensus. But the most important part of that earnings is that they did see an uptick in outpatient surgery. So that is actually positive for UNH. So keep that one on watch. That's what I have as far as chat room chatter is concerned. How about y'all?
What you got else?
I think we've all been anticipating this earnings season, since probably last earnings seasons. And after the big run, looking at how some of these numbers have come in, it really, really kind of begs the question with some of these. It's like, how do we continue to move and consolidate around these levels when some of the numbers really aren't that great? JB Hunt yesterday, what was a massive surprise to me, how they kind of looked, and then they got an upgrade from an analyst today. So that's one in particular. However, Tesla, I think, really, really did well on this particular ER. I really want to listen to the conference call. I think that's where the majority is. Netflix, I'm not all that surprised. I think everybody knows that Netflix is my arch nemesis. I'm really looking forward to trying to move that thing to the downside tomorrow. Can't wait. That's going to be an exciting day. It's like their model is not, I don't believe, one that can sustain long term, when they're basically saying, and just bear with me here, we can make money as long as we're not actually producing films. Their business is to produce content, and their only way that they can really make money and maximize margin is when they don't produce anything. So that's going to be one that's really interesting for me tomorrow.
So this, for me, Maria, I'm so used to you reading out ERs like over the years, but I'm a child of the late 90s, early 2000s, like coming of age. And every time I hear you say the word beat, it makes me think of that song. It's like, what is that song? Big beats hit street seats, gangsters rum, and the parties don't start till 8 in the morning. Like, I automatically start singing that in my mind, like when you say beat. So anyway,
what we got to do throughout the week is you're going to have to, like, how you have your little soundboard. You're going to have to play that like throughout the earnings releases in the afternoons.
Yeah. So as soon as you start saying something beat, it's like, welcome to Atlanta,
Right.
For me, on the chat room chatter side, I'm just looking at the overall market. I think that look, I've heard this 1,000 times. I know there's going to be people out there that are rolling their eyes at me, but the technicals on some of these things are stretched. And just want to kind of urge a little bit of caution out there. Things can stay stretched. I know that we have to take certain things with grains of salt because the market can stay, what's that? Stretch longer than you remain solvent, whatever. I heard that saying 1,000 times. But market is just stretched. We're overbought up here at some levels. Not saying that the trend can't continue. Can't say that I agree with some of the calls that we hit all-time highs this year, but just want to look. I'm looking at this. We're overbought here. Think that we need to kind of come in a little bit, even if it's to the trend, to the uptrend. And so we've got a little bit of ways to where we could come down. So for me, caution is going to be just the theme. Again, I've been scalping this thing intraday, but I do not have any kind of positions on, overnight because I just want to wait and see where we're going to go. It definitely stretched at these areas for me.
Yeah,
I can't say I wouldn't love a pullback. I'd absolutely love a little bit of a pullback. Give me a pullback.
I think we would kind of like a pullback, and I think we've expected it at multiple levels to get a really nice pullback, and we haven't. I think the problem with some of the narrative that you put out there, Kang, is the fact that we've literally climbed the wall of worry for the last 6 months. Everything that the headlines have thrown at us, everything that they've told us that would happen, from unemployment spikes to a crash in the housing market to inflation being sticky to you can go on and on and on. And when you continue to get CPI numbers printing the way they do, core printing the way they do, not only domestic, but in Europe, it kind of speaks to the overall picture that, yeah, no, the market can most certainly push higher because let's ask the question, why did we sell off in the first place? Bed basically tightening. That was the reason. Okay. We're closer to the end of tightening and to actual QE than we are to more tightening and more of a rigid environment. So it's like, as far as why where we are, it's like hindsight is 2020, right? So we can't go back and be like, I should have bought here, I should have bought here. But as far as why we're trading in this range that we are now, I think it's fairly obvious that we've taken every negative comment that anybody has thrown at this market over the last 6 months and literally can't think of a nice thing to say here. So I'm going to say they were wrong. That's what I'll say because I can't think of something nice.
Well, notice that I'm not referring necessarily to the macro because the macro takes longer to work out than the micro. So that's the reason why I referenced at the top of my segment that I'm looking at stretched technicals, which are shorter term stuff. So I understand that and I get that. But I do still think we might have some headwinds in the fall, but I'm not necessarily concerned with that right now. I'm just going to play what I've got in front of me. I'm referring to these shorter term technicals that are very stretched at these levels. So I don't think anybody in their right mind looks at this who's been trading for more than 5 years and says, oh, I think we're going to just go, another 100, 200 points up from here in a straight line. We all know that things don't move up or down in a straight line. And so you are going to get a pullback to trend at some point. So all I'm just doing, like I said, for me and the money that I manage is just exercising caution at these levels because there's definitely technically some yellow lights that are flashing.
Look, and you could be completely right about that, King, but the reality is there are a lot of people saying that at 420, 440, 435. It's like whatever number, 400, whatever number you want to throw out, it was the same conversation. And we're right back to sniffing levels. We have to look how Europe made new all-time highs. Japan made new all-time highs as far as their markets are concerned. In relation to GDP, they printed about the same as we did from a QE standpoint. So it's like I struggle with a lot of, yes, a pull back to trend, sure. But that I don't know that that's necessarily something to be overly cautious about.
Are you have
really
well?
the point
Then I
I
would
want to
ask
make.
you, Hells, are you heavily long here?
I've been adding in long over the past couple of weeks. It's like you can't look at the momentum that's building on that weekly chart and think that we're not going to continue to melt up. And if I combine that with what I see on flow and how the money is moving, the sectors it's moving into, the amount of money that keeps on pumping in, it's impossible for me to have a bearish mentality or a pullback mentality when the money is printing in. It's impossible for me to do that at this point.
Well, that brings us to the next part of our show, folks. Where is that money flowing? So that's a good segue there. Where is this money flowing, y'all?
A little bit here and a little bit there. And actually, over the past week or so, we've seen some decent flow going into some of the solar names. And I know that we saw some downgrades, price target decreases over the past couple of days, but to be honest, I still like them. Most of those solar names, once they start moving, they like to continue moving in that direction for an extended period of time. I am long a couple of names: Solar Edge, Run, and two to name a few. Um, and the other one or ENPH, I don't have any of right now, but I would love to pick up some ENPH. But Sedge or Solar Edge and Sunrun, I do currently hold long, and I'll keep riding those long until the chart changes, right? Also, today we kind of talked about this in our room. We're seeing some movement into basic materials, your Mosaic, NTR, CF. So those three, I kind of want to keep an eye on that sector as well. So that's kind of where I've been seeing money moving. I mean, aside from a little bit of messy ER flow and money, of course, going into tech, those solar and the basic materials are the two areas I want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's like I agree with everything. It's like materials have been really interesting to see the money come in. It's like we've seen a weaker dollar, so obviously there's a benefit there. Also, a benefit with multinationals when you get that weakness in the dollar that we've been witnessing, which has been, I think that's helpful to the overall picture as far as our market moving higher. I'm still really interested in looking at some of the ones that have beaten down a little bit. They continue to make moves, move to the upside. Banks, we have been waiting for banks to kind of do something. We're seeing some decent bank flow when we haven't in about 6 months. It's like these guys reported well, the doom and gloom about the regionals, the doom and gloom about every last bit of what was being volleyed about when it comes to that sector. They're coming in there and they're buying again. Semis continue to get more upside flow than downside flow, not as much as what I would like to see, but there's still the balance is still to the upside. And I think that's the picture overall until flow changes, until we're seeing something that's like, okay, that's a little bit spooky. The tilt still has to remain to the bull. And
I
pretty much
agree.
every yeah, pretty much every sector that you're looking at is getting at UAL. It's like look at travel, look at the money that's pouring into China. We'll get into that a little bit later. MLCO, incredible flow over the last couple of sessions. So it's like when you start seeing this stuff, what are you going to do other than to be like, yeah, no, the market wants to push higher.
So I do agree with that. I'm always in favor of being cautious. You know that that's always been my MO. I'll always be cautious, but I do let the chart dictate what I'm going to do. The chart and flow. So if flow is telling me to pick some up, granted, I may not be putting on a full size position just because um, I do like to be cautious, and I do feel sentiment has been extreme greed for quite a while. Flow is still telling me to go long. So yes, definitely still picking up some positions, just maybe not as big of a position as I typically would.
Shag, Mary, Kill, folks. One of the most dramatic sounding of our segments here. So, look, again, I know I'm going to get some flack, but I like SPX here. And when I submitted this chart earlier, this is a 15-minute. You did have a double top. We actually confirmed that somewhat to the downside today, and you have a rising channel. Again, want to exercise caution, folks. Not a heavy position here, but I do like it for a potential quick move, or at least buying some time here on a little bit of a pullback. So I will be shagging SPX here. Again, I've got a longer term area of resistance up at 45.80, which we could not get over today. So again, this is not anything that I would encourage someone to go out there and put a full size position on. But when you just look at some of the things, and I can't get into all those here because of time's sake, but just like this on a shag here, just pull back to trend on SPX with time.
My turn.
I
Okay, I like it. I'll go with it. I like it at least for a quick short down to support, potentially even down to the bottom of your channel there. But I see the slight little double toppy, and I see that there is a little bit of it did break the top of your channel, and I do see at least one or two areas of support above the bottom of that channel. But for a quick scalp, I'd be in for it. That's a shag.
Yeah, and look, all of these things are possible. It's like the market moves the way it wants it. I think the biggest thing that people are kind of missing in a lot of this are really looking at the individual components and how this thing can literally trade sideways for the next month if it feels like it without any type of a real downdraft because of the components that it's based off of. I look at Apple Flow and Microsoft Flow, which make up the vast majority of the S&P, and that's a very bullish flow. it's hard for me to get behind like any type of a meaningful uh, short at this level as long as that flow remains the way it does.
All right. My choice this week is Pan W. That is a shag upside. This is a play from last week. They bought September 270 calls. There was a little over 600,000 behind it. And just as a side note, 600,000 may not seem like a lot, but this is a ticker where we don't typically see a lot of flow to begin with. So when you see anything sizable, it's going to catch your attention. So I did pick this one up on the daily. On the previous chart, you'll see that um, there was a nice bounce. I don't know if you guys can actually see it on that chart, but there's a purple line on my chart. That's the 34 EMA. There's a beautiful bounce off that 34, and that's essentially right where they picked that up. It was the following day, but still towards that 34 EMA. So again, the flow came in the day after. OI still looks really good on that. From what I can see, looks really healthy. That position is still open. They should be reporting sometime soon, and I plan on being out ahead of that. So for right now, it is a shag.
Flow's been there. It's absolutely been there, and that could easily continue to march higher, easily. So yeah, I'm with you.
I like it, Mario. I like it. I'll roll with you.
Perfect.
All right, here's a sticky one that's really interesting. We talked about it last week how flow into Chinese names has been absolutely robust to say the least. We've had a pretty sharp pullback off of that. You know, I think Baba was pushing, getting up there near 100, and it's pulled back into 90, 91 range, and then had a little weird day today. This is a ticker. This is yen. This is basically an ETF of China for the most part. And you can see a couple of dark pools that have come in here just above. What I'm looking at is the overall flow and how, if you're looking at this is a daily chart. This is one of those really, really interesting falling wedges, right, on the daily. This thing to me looks as if it's going to march higher, especially with China being very, very vocal as far as being accommodative to their businesses, not only their country, I guess their country business, but the private businesses over there, and encouraging money to come back into China. I think that the stimulus will be there for it. And I think we're about to get a really big run into Chinese names. So instead of playing it individually, like looking at a Baba or a Baidu or something like that, I'm going to play yen to the upside over the next several months.
I'm with you. The flows into the China names, absolutely. We've seen that flow there. I like it.
So I like it too. I though would get in. Me personally, I like to get in after or at least when we got confirmation of that falling wedge break. So I've got resistance up there around that 39.63, 39.63 to 40, right in through there. So I would like it over that area of resistance. So if it can get over there with volume, I'm rolling with you. All right, folks, and we have got four. Yes, we've got four viewer questions this week. So let's get right on through these. Hopefully, I'm not massacring this name. Sabuo asks, how do you stay motivated showing up to trade every day when you're having a shitty week? How do I stay motivated? For me personally, this is my job, so I have to have to come to work because I want to earn a paycheck. But no, what I would say is there's going to be some times where you have red weeks. There's going to be some times where you have red days, and you just it's this is going to be easier said than done. But do the best you can to shake it off. Take some time off, maybe 1 or 2 days to kind of clear your head because you don't want to keep kind of hitting the same wall, right? You want to mentally reset and just know that if you continue to kind of look at what's got you to this area and try to learn from those possible mistakes, i.e., like journaling, then you can definitely turn it around. But I can tell you that even for veterans, we all have red days, and hopefully more rare, we do have red weeks from time to time, and it's just I look at it as the cost of doing business.
I hit a heavy bag every night for about an hour, and that normally keeps me motivated to come back and do it all over again. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do box. But I like what King had to say. We all have red days. We all have red weeks, red months, and that is the nature of this business, and you have to know that going into this. And I think just for myself, I like a challenge. So if I see that I'm struggling in something, that then becomes a challenge versus it being a struggle. I change the narrative for myself so that it doesn't have a negative connotation. So I look at it as a challenge, and I do whatever I can to overcome it.
Yeah, I think you both offered very, very healthy answers to the question. I think the reality is you don't have to trade every day. It's like
Exactly.
when you feel yourself hitting that wall, go do something else. If you have kids, take them to the park. You have a dog, take it to the park. It's like go see a movie, do something to kind of pull yourself out. Go hit a heavy bag with Mario. It's like there's a million different things that you can do to pull yourself out of the mindset. Sometimes when you realize that you're having a bad week and you realize that you're really just gnawing at yourself, you can feel it. You'll clench your teeth. You'll feel that emotion. You'll feel like no matter what you do, it's wrong. That's when you need to get up and walk away and just call it for a few days. Come back with fresh eyes. Obviously, if there's something going on and you're not able to hit it right and you're not able to make the money that you want to make, you're not seeing something properly. Sometimes taking a step back and away is absolutely the best thing that you can do. Let the chart develop, let it come to you, play off of that.
Next viewer question, Hells, looks like you're up next.
Oh, I get to ask a question. Okay. Do you exchange? No. Do you change strategies based on what the VIX volatility the market is currently in? Um, if the VIX moved, maybe. If it actually like has done something of any consequence over the last 6 months, it's like maybe. I remember the old days when it actually did something. I don't know. I think it's hard to say. It's very difficult to chart, right? It's very difficult to kind of get in and I get an idea of what to do with all of the headwinds that we were facing, the wall of worry that we were getting walloped with left, right, and sideways, and the VIX continued to melt down. For me, it's like I don't know. I like flow to tell me what's going on. I'd much rather sit there and see whether or not they're writing large calls as opposed to staring down the VIX. Just saying like, oh, on the daily it's here, maybe it'll get a pop here. No, it won't. It's going to continue to go down. That's what it's done over the last 6 months. So for me, no.
For me, it's just a measure. It's just something that I look at to kind of take the temperature of the market. I don't necessarily look and say, okay, VIX is at this number. I need to do X. Um, for me personally, I don't waste a lot of time trying to sit there and say, well, if the VIX does this, then I need to do this, and so on and so forth, because really it's anybody's guess what it's going to do. Just know what it's telling you, right? It's the measure of the put buying on the S&P 500 for the front month contract, so 30 days out. What you might want to do too, and I just do this kind of for fun, is to look at future contracts just to see kind of what they're pricing in for future months. So right now it might be low, but there might be, elevated numbers later on down the curve or later on down those contracts. And I just, again, it's purely informational for me. Just like I would look at the internals, that's just kind of how I look at the VIX. But I'm not necessarily looking at that and saying, I need to be doing X, Y, Z. I do think at this number that we're at now, it does show a level of complacency. But again, that's pretty much where it ends for me.
Same for me, guys. I'm not looking at the VIX and saying, "Oh, now I need to change my strategy in any way, shape, or form." Exactly what these guys said. I don't have anything additional to add to that. Next question is from Freeman. What is your favorite predictor for sniping scalps? Oh, that's a tough question because it's not just one, right? It's a combination. I like to use support resistance with momentum. So current price volume action. So and again momentum. My favorite is when that momentum comes from news like earnings or upgrades, downgrades, some kind of big news. But I don't have a single predictor. I just use support resistance and look for news items or momentum coming into a ticker personally.
Yeah, I'm with you, Maury. I was just going to say my setup. But I mean, really, because it's like your mix of everything that you're looking at that kind of gives you the picture at that place and time as far as what's going on. So there's really not one that I could tell you either. It's just going to be I'm rolling with Mario on this one. It's going to be support resistance if there's a pattern. If there's volume behind it, that's going to gauge how much risk I decide to take on, how much fuel there is in the move. So there's not necessarily one thing that I could tell you do this. As far as snipe scalping, it's just going to be a mixture of what's going on in the market at that time, what the internals are saying, and what the setup is looking like.
Yeah, it's like for me, a chart. I think we can all agree on chart, but flow is like it's just a massive piece of it. It's like the SPX flow that rolls through Black Box continues to be one of the greatest weapons of all time when it comes to scalping. Also, weekly flow, same thing. It's like continues to be one of the greatest weapons that you could possibly have in your bag up against your charts when it comes to if you really want to get in there and scalp. So it's like it's interesting to think about. It's like if you were to take away my favorite toy to play with, which is flow, when it comes to scalping, it's like would I be the trader that I am? Would I be as good as I am without the flow? I don't know, maybe, but it's like that flow really has given not only myself but a lot of people in the Roadhouse the map to not only where we're going but how we're going to get there. So flow, baby, give me that flow.
Well,
I agree with
when you said your favorite toy, I'm glad. I didn't know where you were going with that one, but I'm glad he stuck to flow. There.
I'm going to incorporate that into the fans only page, or
There you go. There you go. After hours.
we're going to do some things here shortly.
There you go. And look out for that exclusive Hell's Bells merch.
Is this me again?
that.
Yep,
Yes.
you got the last one. Yep.
It's me again. Julian asked the question: Musk versus Zuck in MMA, who wins?
Oh, Hells, you got it going. You got it first.
I go first. It's like it's like I think Elon outweighs him. So there's that piece of it. Elon has more money than him. I'm going to have to go with Elon. Why not? Elon, I guess, if I have to.
I'm gonna go with Elon too, just because I, at the very least, know that he does some kind of working out. I don't know if Zuck does. I'm gonna
I'm
go with
going
Elon.
out. I'm going out of the box on this one. I think the promoter wins. Whoever is going to be the promoter for that one is
They
raking
knock
in the
each other
dough.
out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
All right, folks. We really appreciate y'all's questions. Send them in, and we will get them on the show. So glad that you were able to join us this week. We hear the music. We know what that means. It is time to wrap this one up so we get another week in the bag. See y'all next week, everybody. Please like and subscribe on our YouTube page. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when we go live next. And that is it for this show. We'll see you next Wednesday. Stay green, everybody.
Bye, y'all.